Episode 14 of Print and Paint. Today I'm doing the Kratos bust. I'm on Thingiverse. It's from Scans WTF. I've chosen to use this bust because I'm struggling with skin tones a lot. I'm always scared and I'm not sure of what I'm doing, so I figure, okay, let's just jump into the fire and see what happens. The goal is to, at the end, try to improve the way I can paint the skin tone, and this one is full of skin, so let's go. Okay, so first we're gonna hollow the model. We're gonna save a lot of resin doing this, and the busts are a really nice piece to hollow because they are kind of chunky. I'm making sure I support the inside. You can have major failure if you don't check inside first. And here just doing some basic support on the back. The way I angled the model was to have the less amount of support on the face, but I will still have a couple to place here, so I'm fine with it. They are really small support, they get off really easily, and the cleanup is super easy as well. Here I'm supporting those supports because, like I said, they're really small, and when they're getting tall, I'm kind of scared they're gonna wobble a bit, so to avoid even more failure, I'm just supporting the tiny support. And here I'm adding a bit more support as well on the beards, because not only to support the island, but to support the weight as well. If you start to support the island, but then you have a lot of weight on one support, it's going to be too much. So, I've finished to print the bust. I had a lot of trouble on it. I used the photon slicer from Anycubic, so I was doing a lot of tests recently. I was trying to get some better print. And it happened to me before when you import a file from an STL file with support and you slice it in the photon file, not the validator, the one from Anycubic, you have some really strange ghost things happening. So I'm just gonna try to focus on it. So basically I had a bunch of holes just poking through. Luckily enough, nothing at the front, nothing at the top. So I'm going to be able to fix the back really easily and just pull it through. I don't have to redo the whole thing. I should have checked because it happened to me before with the photon file slicer. Just slice and then you have some ghosts, stuff happening in the slicer, and you end up with holes everywhere and a strange cut. So I'm going to fix it, prime it, and paint it. Let's go. Okay, so here first on my priming, it's gray. I've done it with the brush. I got tired of the rattle can recently, so I've decided to have a prime in just gray. It's gonna be easier for the skin tone. The base coat is some kind of bronze flesh tone. It's a bit tricky. The color that I had were not really perfect. They are not going well together, but it's really contrasty, as you can see already. So here I'm just going at it. I'm putting my shadows, my highlights. I try to get an idea of what's gonna happen on the model. Here I'm covering a bit more of the shadow because when the paint is drying, I'm still gonna have the brown coming after. So here I start back on the shadows. I use the same paint as well, but I just seen the paint a lot. And I'm going really just randomly on it. It's always the same process for me. When I don't know what I'm doing, I just do it until I see what happens. That's the best way to learn anyway. Here going a bit more again. Always thinning the paint and just trying to blend everything. Because the bust is really big compared to a mini, not only I was working on the skin tone, but I was working on my blend as well. Nothing worked out perfectly, but it's always a good learning process for me. It's exactly like just making video on YouTube. Just do it until you figure out. here already I have a bit more like volume. We can see a lot of the stroke, especially on the peg here, but I'm just gonna go like here, I'm just gonna go with some thin paint and try to blend everything. At some point I knew the way I was doing it, because I've done it a couple of times even off camera. I tried to blend even more and more. I knew I could see always my stroke, so at some point I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna have to call it good. I'm still gonna be, because the area is really large, I'm still gonna be able to see some strokes, not like on the abs or the face where it's a bit easier to blend. So I've done my best for a while, and then I was like, okay, if I can't do it better anymore, then that's it. I knew like the contrast of the skin was really high, so I went for it. Because of the pain that I had and the way I was going, I'm like, okay, let's push the contrast and let's make it the first thing of the piece that I'm painting. I could push even more, I think, but I had not really like a good idea of how to make some like drastic effect. Here I'm highlighting a bit more, trying to give some detail, refine some shape. The face, you can go really small here, so like it's a bit easier on the face. Trying to highlight and blend some shadow and highlight together, it's a bit better. I'm trying to darken some parts. I think the paint that I used, so I had 4 paint total, and I stick with those ones for the skins. Like I said, they were not the best to go together, but it's fine, we make it work. And the eyes were really nice done, like the model had really nice eyes with the lid and everything, and like everything was really defined, and it made it so much easier to paint it. Like here on the eyelid, I can really like just put some bright color because the volume is there. Like the model is around 8 centimeters tall. It's like 3 inches and a half. So it's not huge, but it's enough to make it easier on the detail. I'm putting some small like reflection on the eyes. I decided to do the tattoo as well. Those thread tattoo coming all along. They're adding a nice, nice touch to it. And there was as well some demarcation on the model to follow. So even if the skin tone is different from the game, adding the tattoo was really nice. So here for the rest, the pillar supporting the bust is really simple. Some gray, some black wash, some dry brushing, and some touch up with the brush after, like just marking some highlight a bit more, and that's it. You can see a bit, I left some of the fell who was there on the print, like this huge cut in the pillar, that's what I left. And I stabbed the pillar with my X-Acto knife a little bit to add more strokes and dent in it. And I decided to keep this kind of beat up look. until the end. Okay, so that's it. I'm finished with the bust. It's a pretty cool one. I'm really happy the way I finished the whole thing. My first goal with it was not to try to get a masterpiece. I wanted to work on the skin tone, the blend as well, but I didn't manage to do a perfect job. The skin tone color is not exactly the same as in the game or some artwork, but I just did with the color that I have, and I just try to do my best to like improve my skin tone. So the face came out pretty well. There is more space, it's a bigger sculpture than a mini or anything, so it was a bit easier to paint the eyes and anything. But you can take some of those techniques and those style and use them for different like figure or mini or another bust. My goal was just to have fun like always and do my best for the skin, so that's a good result nonetheless. And see you in the next episode. And subscribe.